Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports, and we're back another week of calling Currie Cup action this weekend, and 2 games, unfortunately, not 3. The Bulls versus Griquas game has been called off as a result, or in line with COVID protocols, which resulted in a couple of positive tests within the Bulls camp, which has caused a couple of things. First of all, obviously, the Griquas versus Bulls match has been called off. The match has been determined to be a draw as per the sort of the rules of the competition, which is very big actually, because it means that especially the Sharks and the Western Province and the Lions, not the Western Province, play this weekend, can try and sort of start catching up and closing the gap on the Bulls, because they will have to settle for 2 points rather than maybe the 4 or even 5 that they were probably hoping to get against the Griquas itself. It also means that a couple of the Sharks players have had to be left out of this weekend's clash against the Lions, but we are talking about the Pumas versus the Cheetahs, the first game of the weekend tomorrow night, 7 o'clock in Nelspruit. And some very interesting team selections, particularly for the Cheetah side, a couple of positional changes and a big call as well, as the Cheetahs look to try and respond to losing a couple of games in a row and to try and close the gap on top 4 to kind of keep their playoff chances alive, slim playoff chances alive. Especially if the Lions can get a win this weekend. But if the Cheetahs can get the win and the Lions lose, they are suddenly well back into the tournament itself. Before we look at the 2 teams, please do subscribe. Bottom right hand corner there, smash like on the video. Jump in the comments, give me your score predictions of the game itself. Without any further ado, let's look at the Cheetahs side, who will travel to Nelspruit in search of a much needed victory. Now, if you look at that side, I want to focus on the back line, but before we get there, obviously as you go through, Bowen Fenton, Marnus van der Merwe, Kuta Mchuno, Carl Vechner was very good last weekend. I was very impressed with him. He created a lot of havoc in the early stages against the Lions and will be very important for the Cheetahs again this weekend. Reniel Hugo will get a start as well. And then that loose trio, which is getting better every week. Andisela, Insila has been very, very good. And you know, and one of the better players for the Cheetahs across the season. I mean, once that I reckon he was probably the form flanker, if not the player in the competition. But you know, Marco Pistard has also stood up a lot. But some really good number 6s across the country as well. Aiden Davis is getting better each game, and John Ray Rudolph is a workhorse. He's immense. He's very physical. He looks for work. He creates penalties. He can win some important turnovers. He's worked very, very hard the last couple of games. But it is the back line where Clayton Blommetjies is the only player who's starting in the same position as he did last weekend. A lot of changes in this Cheetahs back line. Now, first of all, Ruben de Haas gets a start ahead of Tian Meyer, who drops to the bench. And then a very interesting call by Habis Freer is that Francois Steyn will start at fly half, the first time he has played fly half in South Africa since his days at the Sharks, which will be very interesting. I think, you know, on the back of what was quite an impressive performance last weekend against the Lions, or just he kicked very well. It'll be interesting to see how he copes there at number 10. William Small-Smith has changed wings. He will start with the number 11 jersey this weekend. Duncan Saul will get his first Currie Cup start in 14. Howard Nisi moves into inside centre to take place of the vacant jersey, which obviously with Frans Steyn moving to 10. And then Dries Swanepoel comes into the lineup at 13, and Clayton Blommetjies rounds out the 15. So quite a few changes in the back line, not too many changes in the pack itself, but it's still a very good side. And I think it'll be interesting to see how the back line goes. Chemistry-wise, none of these players have played a lot together. Some of these players haven't played a lot full stop, so they'll need a bit of time to try and gel. You're looking at the bench. Louis van der Vestes and Cameron Dawson and El Doyaga will be the front row cover. Open Mohoja comes back into the bench. Always good to see him playing there. Chris Massane will provide cover as well, and then Tian Meyer will get given a break, so he'll be looking to come and make a bit of an impact off the bench. Reynard Fortain and Reynard Smith are the other backline replacements. And if you look at the Pumas side, quite a few changes, not too many changes across the thing, but quite some significant ones. In particular, it's good to see Wayne van der Bank on the bench there. But in terms of the front row, Morgan Nadir, Simon Vestraat, Ignatius Prinsloo, that is fairly standard. LaRue Roots and Peter Janssen van Vuren, same thing there as well. The only change in the pack is actually Pumzile and Pumzile Makandana, who comes in. Daniel Martins, Willie Engelbrecht will start again. Chris September, the new signing, is starting to sort of settle into things at Pumas. He will partner Devin Williams, who will start at fly half. Etienne Talliard always loves to work hard, looks for work. He's lots of energy. Will start at number 11. Ali Ngajima and Eric Cornell on the midfield. Luther Obi, who I was particularly impressed with last weekend. Despite the Pumas not being able to really get much of a foot into the game, he worked very, very hard. And when in the early sort of stage where the Pumas probably should have punished the Western Province a bit more, he was a big part of that. He worked very hard. He chases everything down very hard, and I was very impressed. And Pierre Mafura as well will probably want to have a bit more of an effect this weekend than he did last weekend. And then on the bench, AJ Leroux, Vickers Groenewald, Brandon Valentine, Ewald Pochita, Ginter Smuts, who has sort of found games tough to get come by since Crystal September came in. Was playing quite well before then. Tian Botha dropped to the bench, Wayne van der Bank. He was very, very good early in the season and sort of dropped off a bit then. A couple of injuries as well hasn't helped. And DL Mitch rounds off the bench. So it's a fairly settled Pumas side, and there are some players who can make things happen. The big thing for them is they need to start really well and try and take the game to the Cheetahs early on. The Cheetahs started pretty well against the Lions, but the Lions sort of blitzed them in sort of 15 minutes and they couldn't really come back. So the Pumas can try and do something similar and try and sort of win a key section of the game, put a lot of points on quickly, then suddenly the Cheetahs will need to sort of chase the game. The Cheetahs, on the other hand, will be hoping to do pretty much exactly the same thing and try and bury the game as quickly as possible, get points on the board, try and run in some tries, get that back line going, use their forwards to really good effect, and to try and keep themselves inside the running for the Currie Cup and keep themselves in contention for those playoff points. It'll be very important for them to go out and get a victory because they are currently 8 points behind the Lions, which means even if the Cheetahs win and the Lions win, they're still 8 points with not too many games to go, just a couple of rounds. The final is at the end of January, so you think that we're sort of heading into mid-December. There really isn't a lot of time for the Cheetahs to try and close that gap. But the Lions do have some difficult games, so there might be a couple of opportunities there, and therefore the Cheetahs can't slip up. The Pumas, on the other hand, if something, not necessarily a miracle, but if they were to really pitch up this weekend and get a win, or even a bonus point win, they could go within 2 points of the Cheetahs, if not 1 point of the Cheetahs, if they can somehow pull a bonus point win. And suddenly they could be sitting there saying, well, why can't we go for 5th? So lots to play for the Pumas, who managed to take points here and there, and those 2 wins against the Griquas, but could suddenly actually have something really good to play for and make a bit of a statement if they were to try and get a win this weekend and maybe pull off a shock victory somewhere else as well. So it is a very important, not necessarily important game for the top 4 at the moment, but for the rest of the table. And if the Cheetahs are to try and remain in the hunt, they will need to try and get all 4, if not 5 points this weekend. I'm going to go Cheetahs by 14. I think that they've got too much power, and I think that, in fact, I think it's probably, maybe that's a bit disrespectful to Pumas. I'm going to go Cheetahs by 10. It could be by 14, could be by a lot. The problem is you're just not entirely sure which Cheetahs outfit will pitch up, and the Pumas can be a very good side and can be a very spirited side when they want to be. So Berg and elsewhere, I'm backing in to actually put in quite a decent performance, so I'm going to go Cheetahs by 10. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Give me your score predictions as well, and I'll chat to you in a bit with the Lions versus the Sharks preview, which is the other match this weekend. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven, and I'll chat to you later.